Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon joins me, and we are breaking down the rookie class in the NBA. To this point, we're going to talk Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, all of the Hornets guys, not just Knueppel. We will talk about many of the other top picks and some of the guys that have emerged that went a bit lower. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What is this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you doing? It's been a great week of basketball. I'm not losing my voice because college basketball is started and NBA is in full swing. It's because an hour and 15 minutes of coaching my son's 5th and 6th grade basketball team causes me to lose my voice. I made it all football season with high school kids, but you put me in a gym with 25th and 6th grade boys basketball players and it is gone.
That will do it. I'm not surprised that will do it for just about anybody because, you know, if you're not yelling at children, what are we doing, really?
It's the story of my life right now. I will say they are getting to a point where I know it's important stage, but it is getting, they can do things now where it's fun. Like we can do shell defense and they understand gap, help, 2 passes away, help and recover, backdoor cuts, stuff like that. So, you know, we're still staying with very fundamental and all of that, but you're starting to do some things and seeing things click where it is really exciting and, you know, just trying to help them grow into good middle school basketball players and high school basketball players. And God willing, for 1 or 2 of them, maybe they go on and play in college someday.
I love it. That's amazing. I am always excited to hear about your coaching forays. It's been a good week of basketball. It's been an exciting week of basketball. We had college start. We will save our college thoughts for the NBA draft show that Bryce and I are doing this year. Has done really, really well so far. We appreciate everybody that has come and hit the subscribe button over on that video, that has come and listened to the show. I think that like between YouTube and the podcast feed, it has like 30,000, listens, like a pretty real number, 30 to 40,000. So pretty amazing, just on the YouTube alone, you can look and it's at like 23 right now. So really, really good. We appreciate everybody that's come through and hung out with that one, just talking about Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer and AJ DeBansa. And you better believe that we will talk about them quite a bit this coming Tuesday, as well. Koa Pete was outstanding in his opener. I thought DeBansa was really good in his opener. Boozer was flawed, but productive in his opener. So a lot of really fun games to talk about. And then we'll have Kansas, North Carolina tomorrow as well.
And you broke those games down, Sam, on the Game Theory Substack.
That's exactly where I was going next, Bryce. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Go to the Game Theory Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. We still don't have the payment thing figured out right now. I am talking to so many people right now about this. I've literally hit the folks that deal with payments. I have hit Substack. We're working on it. We're trying to get it together. I have a sense of where the problems are, and if it's not fixed by the weekend, I will be letting loose on where the problems are on this thing. So I will be just releasing the DeBansa one for free tomorrow for people. I know that a lot of people are getting the emails. There are literally thousands of you guys getting the emails for these things already, and you're able to watch some of the video but not all of it. The DeBansa one we're just going to release for free tomorrow from his opener against Villanova, because we still don't have the full payment structure figured out yet, unfortunately, and we need to hopefully get that together at some point. Again, I don't think that it's the folks at Substack that are the problem, so I just want to make that very clear. But gametheorysamv.substack.com, you can definitely subscribe for free. You will get the DeBansa video that is out probably right now as we're speaking, and this thing goes live over on whatever app you're listening on, YouTube, Spotify, the Apple Podcast app, whatever you're using. Go to Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. It is the best way you can support the show, gametheorysamv.substack.com. Okay, so we're going to talk about rookies today. And I'll just kind of ask you this as a blanket statement. What have you thought of the rookie class this season? Has anything particularly surprised you? Has anything stood out in a really positive way from a 1,000-foot view?
Yeah, I think there's some individual players. I don't want to bury the lead and start dropping a bunch of names. I will just say, like, when we get to the Charlotte Hornets, I'm going to have a lot of positive things to say. And that was a draft class that we had a lot of positive things to say whenever it happened. And so far, it has come to fruition. I know we're going to lead off with Cooper Flagg here. I think that will be a fun conversation talking about context. I think that's one thing, that the context that players are in, it always is going to determine success in some capacity, but especially early on, when you put a player in a context where it's like, hey, just go do this. This is what you're good at. This is what you can be successful at. We see those guys flourish and they do really well. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner is one of those examples. I'll go ahead and name drop him, but in the role that he's asked to be in, he does a really, really nice job for Charlotte. Obviously, completely different tier of prospects. You put Cooper Flagg in a different situation where maybe he's being asked to do a little bit more than what he should be. And we've seen a little bit of struggles. So I think the class has probably been better than what I thought it was going to be so far. We'll see how that carries on as scouting reports get out there. Teams figure out what these guys do well, what they don't, how they're being used, etc. But right now, a couple weeks into the season, whatever we are, I think it's been better than I thought. That's my overall takeaway, Sam, is it's been better than what I thought it would be.
Yeah, currently 12 players averaging at least 8 points per game in this class, which is pretty solid, right? Looking at rebounding, we have 13 guys averaging at least 3 rebounds. 12 guys averaging at least 2 assists per game. So from a production perspective, it's been pretty good. I actually think there are some players in this class that look like real keepers as well.
Sure.
Even just from like a role player perspective, right? Like, Cedric Coward, might have some scope beyond role player, I think, at the end of the day. But I think that as a role player right now with Memphis looks fantastic, right?
I have a name I'm going to throw at you whenever we get to him, and I want to see if you call me crazy or not. I'll save it for then. But when I watched him the other day, I was like, man, I wonder if he can be this guy. So I'll save it for that.
Yeah, I think Sion James has been great as like a role player to this point so far. Just defensively, moving the ball, everything that you could ask for from somebody like that, getting picked in the second round.
Making shots right now. Making threes right now.
Currently making shots, which is really, really good. I mean, he's hitting 70% from the 3-point line, which might not track long term. I don't know if you guys know that. Guys don't shoot 70% from the line or from the 3-point line, but
some guys don't shoot 70% from the free throw line either, Sam.
It's a very good point. By and large, though, like, I have no real complaints about this class. Like, I think it's been really fun to watch. I think it's been really fun to track. And I'm just really, really excited to see where these guys kind of go here in the future. And we'll start with Cooper in a second here, but first we're going to shout out our friends over at Trade Coffee. As the season shifts, so does your coffee mood. Maybe you're craving something rich and chocolatey one week or bright and fruity the next. We're still in fall. It's still November. If you want those pumpkin spice lattes, you can go for it. With Trade, discovering new favorites is effortless. They'll match you to roasts that fit whatever your mornings call for. And that is because Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the US. Their team of expert baristas, tasters, and Q graders use real coffee knowledge to match you with coffees you'll love. They curate over 450 coffees, so you can try something new with every delivery, and there's guaranteed variety no matter your roast and taste preference. Every recommendation is personalized, not algorithmic. So you discover new roasters and coffees perfectly suited to your taste. All you have to do is take their quick quiz and they'll find your perfect match. If your first bag isn't quite right, they'll replace it for free until they get it just right. My wife and I have very different tastes in coffee, and Trade has just done an amazing, amazing job of kind of helping us learn exactly what we're both looking for, as well as making sure that we have multiple coffees stocked in the house at all times. Right now, Trade is offering 50% off a 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/game. That's drinktrade.com/game, GAME. They're also offering 10% off of gifts right now, too. That's drinktrade.com drinktrade.com/game to get 50% off 1 month and 10% off of gifts. drinktrade.com/game. All right, let's start with Cooper. So early in the year, they were playing Cooper at point, like a good amount of the time. There were moments where Cooper was playing off the ball, and there were moments where he was like being asked to bring the ball up the court very regularly to initiate their sets. Last night was the first time that I've watched one of their games. May have been 2 nights ago where they started playing him off the ball consistently, but last night was the first night that I saw them just play him fully off of the ball, which was really good to see. Just kind of looking through, that was the first game that D'Angelo Russell started. So I'm guessing that it was actually the first night where Cooper played off of the ball consistently. And lo and behold, what happened, Bryce? Last night, Cooper goes for 20 and 9.
Say had his best game, probably.
Cooper had 20 points, 9 rebounds. He did take 19 shots to get there. Didn't shoot super well from 3, and he smoked a couple layups. Like, by and large, last night looked so much more functional than what we have seen from Cooper coming into this. What have been your overall thoughts on Cooper Flagg to this point before I kind of dive into my frustration?
Yeah, I mean, the last time I saw him was against Detroit, where they still were playing him a lot, as a generator of offense. And he was having to work so hard for every opportunity he got. I was looking as we were starting here at his at the rim finishing numbers, and this includes transition, and he's under 50% according to Synergy. So then I went back through my notes and looked, and I think that's the cause for some of his misses. He's working so hard to even generate the attempt as the primary initiator, as opposed to being just an advantage exploiter, right? Let somebody else break down the defense. You catch, shoot, attack a closeout, cut, transition, offensive rebound, whatever. And he wasn't really getting those attempts, because that's what I think he is. I think he's an elite advantage exploiter that's going to grow into throughout his career some of this primary initiation stuff. And then I also think, defensively, I wonder how he looked defensively last night, because he had to have a little bit more energy on that end of the floor when he's not having to try to generate everything offensively for his team. And that's a huge part. Like, this Mavericks team, just looking at their team overall, Anthony Davis obviously would be their leading scorer. PJ Washington is second. So when Anthony Davis isn't playing, this team doesn't have somebody averaging more than 15.8 points per game. And so there's just no bucket getter. The game against Detroit, D'Angelo Russell went crazy. And if it wasn't for that, Detroit would have blown him out. They need something like that for them to look decent on the offensive end. So it's just not a great context for him, especially as the primary initiator. But you get him off the ball, let D'Lo do his thing, as crazy as that sounds, give some minutes to Brandon Williams, and let him be this off the ball advantage exploiter that I think he can really thrive as.
Yeah, no, I think that that's absolutely the right way to look at it. When it's just Cooper out there without D'Angelo Russell, they have a 98.5 offensive rating. When Cooper's out there with D'Angelo Russell, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's an amazing offensive rating, but it does go up to 105 at least. So that's like a very big market difference, right? True shooting percentage goes up to 55.8%. It just feels like they get way, way, way easier shots to me at the end of the day, whenever, they're out there together. And that tracks to me, because Cooper Flagg is not a point guard right now. That he is an 18-year-old playing in the NBA for the first time. That is hard. It is very difficult to ask somebody who has never played point to go, okay, we're going to have you bring the ball up the court and initiate the offense every time, because we have completely screwed up the way that we're building this roster. And the bigger thing for me is not necessarily that they are playing him at point. It's that nothing that they do generates him easy shots, which is something that you said, right? In the first game of the year, they ran at the start of the second half, we mentioned this on a previous show, they ran 2 down screens into a curl for him to come up to the foul line and get a jumper, and he drills the jumper, and that was his first field goal made of his career. Last night, they actually ran a few actions where he got easier shots, right? And then on top of it, when he doesn't have to go get the ball in transition and go get the ball from the big and be the outlet, he's able to just kind of streak down the court more consistently and get out on the break and be able to score in advantageous situations, which is really useful for him because of his athleticism level, his ability to get up and down the court, his ability to run in transition. I like the way he's moving the ball. I think he moves the ball very quickly, reverses the ball very quickly. We've always seen that. I thought the third quarter last night against New Orleans was very impressive. He had one play where he just like completely blew through Herb Jones to get to a lefty layup that I thought was like incredibly impressive. And then they ran like a horns action to get him into a tight ball screen. And then he like kind of spun off of it and got to another lefty layup. He had like a third lefty layup, I believe, in that game as well, like out in transition, that I thought was pretty impressive. It was just that they got him in situations that allow him to thrive. And that's just what I want to see more of. Like, start Brandon Williams, start D'Angelo Russell. Like, I don't care what guard it is. I'm not going to sit here and like fight and say that like D'Angelo Russell and Brandon, or that, you know, D'Angelo Russell's been great this year. But again, like in the 55 minutes where it's been Brandon Williams and Cooper Flagg, you know, it's a 108.5 offensive rating, right? Whereas again, when Brandon Williams off the court, it's a 98.9 offensive rating with Cooper Flagg on the court. So it's just very obvious. Play him with a guard. You can still have him occasionally initiate sets. You can have him be the second side option and have him run ball screens. Like, I'm all for getting him reps on the ball. It's just that we need to do a better job of getting him advantageous looks that take advantage of what his skill set is. And the final thing that I'll note here is that, like, in this game last night, particularly, he did not have any offensive rebounds, but you could see that he felt a little bit more freed up to go and attack the offensive glass occasionally than what I've seen in a few previous games, where it felt like he had to backpedal is like one of the first guys back on defense because he was playing out higher a little bit more consistently.
It's one thing to be the quote unquote point guard or the initiator of offense. It's another thing to be the sole creator of offense. And I think that's where it went to the extreme with Cooper Flagg to start the season. I'm like you, I'm okay if Dallas wants him dribbling the ball up the floor or getting an outlet pass occasionally in transition or coming out of a timeout and he has the ball at the top of the key and he's initiating offense. The problem is they are asking him to break down the defense on every possession to create not only for himself and others. And that's not who he is right now, not in isolation, not as the guy that starts the possession with the ball. At the very least, let Brandon Williams touch the paint, kick it out, and then let Cooper Flagg attack. Even if he's the focal point, I'm okay if Cooper Flagg is the focal point of your offense in some capacity. I think asking him to be the primary creator and generator of everything that breaks down the defense is too much, or they have to get more creative with how they're doing it. I did want to bring up something you brought up, which was you can see the force that he can play with already as a rookie. He will put his shoulder into you and he will bump you off the line. He will create space with his shoulder. You know, that bump is something you really watch for in the NBA because the best are really good. I think Shea is incredible at it, especially for a guy who you don't immediately think insane strength, right? Cooper is able to bump grown men already as an 18-year-old rookie. That is huge. And he's going to learn how to just take advantage of that more and more.
Yeah. The final thing I'll note here, you know, on the guard thing is, you know, Cooper Flagg's, you know, efficiency right now has obviously been questioned just because he has not been efficient to this point. He's shooting 39% from the field, 29% from three. He has made all of his free throws to this point. But when D'Angelo Russell's out there, he actually has a 58% true shooting percentage, which is like right around league average right now. When he's off the court is when the true shooting percentage falls down to 46.5%. Shout out to Data Baller for having those numbers. And then you can look at, you know, the same with Brandon Williams, right? Like when Brandon Williams is out there, click the wrong button there. When Brandon Williams is out there, Cooper Flagg has a 68.6 true shooting percentage and averages 23 points per 75 possessions, right? So like, you just have to put a guard out there with him. Again, we're not saying that he can't be your primary initiator. You can do that, but have a secondary ball handler out there with him so it's not all on his shoulders at the end of the day. And I'm glad that they're at least starting to do that now, hopefully.
I just wanted to also touch on the defense real quick, where I think he has made an impact as an off the ball defender, which I think is what we both thought. I thought he was going to be best at in the NBA. He took away a lot of Detroit's transition opportunities. He'd fight Jalen Duren in early transition post-up situations. He makes off-ball rotations and all of that stuff. But I do think we've also seen the potential limitations as like a point of attack defender. He's not going to come in and be able to guard every twitchy, explosive little guard. Like, he doesn't have that level of defensive versatility like the Thompson twins or, people like that. And I'm not saying anybody's saying he would. I just think it's important to point out that that's not the level of point of attack defender. Really, I don't think we evaluated him being that. And it's proven to be that in the NBA as well. But that also plays into Dallas's struggles. They don't have that guy to take those matchups, especially when a Brandon Williams, not that D'Lo's great defensively either, but they don't have that guy on the roster to necessarily take those matchups. So sometimes he's even being put in bad matchups on the defensive end to show his best impact.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, he's gotten to the rim a decent amount off the ball, like when he's been asked to play that way. He does sometimes settle in the mid-range a little bit more than maybe I would like to see. But, at the end of the day, I have even just based off of last night where we got the full vision of what this looks like when he plays off the ball. It just reminded me there's not really any reason to be worried about this guy. It's just that the Dallas context has been catastrophic and they should be a little bit embarrassed, I think, about the way that they've utilized him to this point. Even just last night, again, the 20 points where the way he got going in the second half, you could just see that he was problem solving and had started to figure things out a little bit more by playing off the ball. So yeah, Cooper's going to be fine. Cooper's going to be a great basketball player. I would still absolutely take him tops out of this class. I have no real concerns about that.
One final point that I saw on socials today that was interesting is this is the most he's lost in his career as well.
Yeah, I saw
coming
that too.
from Mount Verb, coming from Duke. And just don't underestimate what that does to a young kid. I'm not saying it's bad either. I think learning to lose and go through adversity and struggle is good, but it is another aspect of this that he's not used to losing in this way. And so I'm sure he's having to, filter through that and figure that out as well while he's learning through all of these other aspects of being a professional.
Shout out to our friends over at Rula. Taking care of your mental health shouldn't be harder than taking care of your physical health. If you pull a muscle, you go see a doctor. But when it comes to finding the right therapist, it can be incredibly frustrating. You can have long wait lists. You can be looking at huge out-of-pocket costs. That's what usually is going to stop people from getting help. And trust me, I've absolutely waited on those long wait lists with you guys. It is so incredibly annoying to find the right therapist, because then if you go to somebody that you think might be right and you've waited on the wait list for, God knows, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's 6 weeks, and then that person isn't right. You're kind of starting at square one, and then you're like, man, I don't really want to keep dealing with this, right? That's where Rula comes in. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most major insurance plans, and the average session copay is just $15. That's basically the cost of lunch, but instead of a sandwich, you're investing in your own headspace. And with Rula, you're not just matched and left to figure it out. They check in, they make sure you're actually making progress. Every therapist on the platform is licensed, vetted, and picked for their expertise. So you're talking to someone legit, not just whoever happens to be available. Getting started couldn't be easier. You answer a few questions about what matters to you, and Rula connects you with in-network providers who actually fit your needs. You pick the time, and you could be talking to a therapist as soon as the next day. No weeks of waiting, no endless back and forth. Bottom line is, if you've been putting this off, Rula takes away all of the excuses. It's simple, affordable, and actually built to help you get better. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care they needed. Don't keep putting it off. Go to Rula.com/game theory. That is RULA.com/game theory and get started today. That's Rula.com/game theory. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. Okay, the next guy I want to go to is probably the guy that has been the best rookie so far. And it is just a tale to me of, one side of the coin with Cooper, where a team for the first 7 games was utilizing him in the polar opposite way of how he should have been utilized, especially given their spacing, which is something that we probably didn't talk enough about in that section, where like they're playing multiple bigs all the time and it just looks like crap. The other guy here is VJ. VJ has looked way better, and to me, it's because they're utilizing him exactly the way that he should be utilized, in every way across the board. And I am so excited to continue to watch VJ within the structure of the 76ers offense, because they have a real plan for how to use him as an off-ball finisher of advantages that have been created already, be it as a shooter, as a cutter, as a driver, even just the way that they use him spacing wise, where if he gets a switch, or if like there's been some sort of off-ball scramble situation and he gets the big on him, they space him out to like 30 feet, not just 24 feet, like right at the 3-point line. And they say, oh no, let's get this guy in as much space as humanly possible given his athleticism. We know that he'll beat the big downhill. Let's just do that and make sure that he's getting the most out of what he can do. I have absolutely loved every way that they have used VJ to this point. And it should be no surprise that VJ, given that context, is averaging 17.6 points, 5.6 rebounds, 4.8 assists, only 1.9 turnovers. The efficiency is like still good. Don't get me wrong. It is starting to like drop off a little bit because he is making fewer threes than what he was earlier in the season. Obviously, like if you look at his last 4 games now, he is shooting 33% from 3 and 41% from field goal range. But overall, I'm very positive on VJ, and the explosive games have just been amazing to this point to watch.
So he has taken 119 field goal attempts this season, Sam. You want to guess how many are off the bounce?
I would guess that 15 of them are off the bounce.
24. So a little bit more than that, but 19 mid-range, where he's at 37%.
Yep.
He's only had to take 5 3-pointers off the bounce.
And honestly, a lot of those threes off the bounce are relocation, because I can think of 2 off the top of my head.
The shot fake, one dribble.
Shot fake, one dribble, knock down a shot. Yeah.
And he's shooting incredible on catch and shoots. He's at 43%, particularly in unguarded catch and shoot. I think it just speaks to what you're saying there in terms of the shot diet he has versus the shot diet of, say, a Cooper Flagg. Here's another thing that I forgot to mention with Cooper Flagg as well. I'm sorry, but obviously I reference the Pistons a lot, and if the Philadelphia 76ers played the Detroit Pistons, guess who Asar Thompson would guard? Tyrese Maxey, not VJ Edgecombe. Whenever the Dallas Mavericks played the Detroit Pistons, guess who Asar Thompson guarded? Cooper Flagg. There is a real difference whenever the other team's best defender is not guarding you. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for Cooper and take anything away from VJ, but because VJ is playing with Tyrese Maxey, he doesn't get the other team's best perimeter defender, and he's taking advantage of it. Again, I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm just trying to provide context. I will say this. While I don't think he's being forced to do a ton with the ball in his hands, I come away impressed with what he does do in his reps in terms of, I've liked some of his passing. I think he looks poised. I see him jail defenders and play with pace and patience and then attack. I think there's a fluidity and a real professionalism to the way he does things. And so I do think that he is doing those things well in those opportunities. I'll look at the synergy. I wonder what pick and roll. So actually it says he's below average, and by their standards, I still think there have been some good reps, but his best play types are obviously spot up, and then he's really good when he gets out in transition.
Well, so, to speak to the idea here, do you know what percentage of his minutes that he's played next to Maxey?
I've thought about this the other day. I would say 80.
Yeah, it's like 85, 86% to this point of his minutes with Tyrese Maxey. He's played 55 minutes without Maxey on the court. Do you know what his true shooting percentage is in those minutes?
I hope it's good. 57.
It's 48 in the minutes without Tyrese Maxey.
So it plays into what we're saying.
It's basically exactly what Cooper's is. You know what I mean? Because it's just hard when you don't have the primary creator out there, right? So, with Maxey out there, he has a 57.3 true shooting percentage because of course he does, right? And, he's been incredibly valuable and helpful. And by the way, like, he's been really useful for Tyrese too, because they have another shooter out there. They have another guy who can create off the bounce a little bit. The key for VJ is obviously going to be, where does the pull up get to? I feel like I've talked about this ad nauseum when we've done little talks about the rookie class to this point within our like bigger conversations. But if he knocks down high level, pull up jumpers consistently from the mid range, from three, everything like that, his ceiling like really drastically changes. To this point, according to Synergy, he's made 41.7% of his 3-pointers for a 41.7% of his pull-ups for a 49.1 true shooting percentage on pull-ups. Not quite good enough, but a good building block, honestly, compared to where he was at Baylor and at Lehigh. So I think there's a lot of reason to be excited about VJ's ceiling right now compared to what I thought it was even coming into the draft. Looks like a guy that at the very least is going to be like a top 50 guy in the league at some point. Like if that's like your worst case scenario, that feels like a serious win given how good he is on defense. And there's real room for growth beyond that. It's just going to depend on where the shot creation, the pull up shooting, the handle, even to some extent, continues to get to.
Leads the rookie class in points. You want to guess where he's at in offensive rebounds per game?
I would guess he's like second or third, honestly.
He is second, only behind Kalkbrenner.
Yeah.
He is first in assists by 1 over Harper and a little bit more than Clayton and Fears. He is also tied for first in steals. Now, I do want to give this context because I think it's important when we talk counting stats. And I think this is impressive. He's playing almost 40 minutes a game, Sam. Through 8 games, he's averaging 38.6 minutes per game. And I only bring that up to say, whenever we talk counting stats, him, Cooper, and Collin are the only rookies averaging 30 plus minutes. And Cooper's only at 33. He's almost playing more than 5.5 minutes per game more than Cooper, almost 9 minutes more per game than Collin. So it is context worth mentioning if you're just looking at per game numbers, but he's still been insanely impressive.
Yeah. No, I mean, VJ would be the rookie of the year through these like 10 games that we're talking about. He's been outstanding. I love the defensive energy that he's given them as well. Very real, impactful, I think, just athlete defensively, who's able to take on different assignments. He doesn't take on the toughest assignment for them for the most part, but is somebody that is able to guard his position. He's able to switch onto tougher players and at least provide like some sort of resistance typically. And he fights. He consistently fights on that end in a really valuable way.
And just again, to hammer this point home, I mentioned, what Cooper Flagg has in terms of on the floor with him in points per game. The Sixers have 4 guys averaging almost 18 points a game between Embiid, Grimes, Oubre, and Maxey. So just completely different context there. But VJ's been awesome. I love his defensive disruption. I will be watching some of the finer little details and nuances of the defensive end with him moving forward. Kind of, you mentioned what the ceiling is in terms of like offense. I'm also interested to see what it is defensively. How high level of a point of attack defender / stopper can he be? Not necessarily in his rookie year, but just moving forward. I think that's a big part of his ceiling as well. Are you just a disruptive defender, or can you really sit down, stay in front of people and lock them up and keep them 5, 6, 8 points below their average on a night?
Yeah. I think the next place I want to go is actually Charlotte, because I have loved watching these Hornets rookies. all three of them look like all rookie guys to me right now through 10 games. Like I would have, if I was creating like a 10 game all rookie list or whatever, I would have all of these guys there right now.
Con's definitely first team.
Con, Brian Kalkbrenner, and Sion James.
No, I know. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I was just hashing through it. Like, I was watching Kalkbrenner the other day. It's like, I think he might, does he have an argument for first team right now?
So what we'd probably have, I mean, I would have Cooper there, VJ, Con, that's 3, Coward for sure, 4.
I think it'd be between him and Dylan.
Yeah, honestly, like I think Fears has been pretty good too.
Fears has been good. I think there's
a case for Fears. Probably one of those 3 or 4. Yeah, like any of those guys, and then Sion I think would be second team now for me for sure. Right, like just no questions asked. Like the way that he's played. Let's start with Con though.
Sure.
So I've done a Con breakdown over on the Substack channel, gametheorystamv.substack.com. You can go check that out. I love the way they're using Con. And it's very funny because the guy that I always thought of him as being most similar to, right, was maybe even like a slightly smarter, higher IQ. And this isn't a shot at this guy's IQ. It's just that Con's is really, really high level. I thought like Desmond Bainey was like my vision for Con. And if you watched Memphis over the years, it looks pretty clear to me that like Charles Lee, stole some plays, probably more from Boston, which is where he was, originally, where they would run all sorts of guard actions. But Memphis with Dez would run all sorts of like 1-2 actions, like ghosts and slips and things like that to be able to get Dez open. It's exactly what Charlotte's doing with Con. Like they're running all sorts of really, really fun actions for him. Curls, off of down screens to get him into the mid range. They're running, ghosts where like he's in like a horn set and they'll run a backside flare with Kalkbrenner to get him loose after he goes to set a screen on the ball. Like the way that they're using Con is really sharp. And then obviously his off-ball movement is absolutely tremendous. His ability to relocate, to create open angles for his teammates that are driving, particularly guys like Sexton and Sion James recently, but also LaMelo whenever he was there prior to his injury. Like Con has just been everything that we thought Con would be. He's already averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists per game, shooting 46, 41, 82. Like there's a real case Con has been like, I think Con has probably been the second best rookie to this point. Like no questions asked to me.
Definitely first team all rookie. I had that in my notes over a recent game that I watched. You kind of took the thing I wanted to really make a point is his versatility in the way you can use him offensively. In this game against the Pelicans that I watched, they used him as a short roller, which I thought was really cool. Really, to your point, like Charles Lee finding creative ways to use him. You don't instantly think, oh, you will put him in ball screen actions, but it's like, well, we're going to ghost him or we're going to pick and pop him. No, they short rolled him. And then he can be a good decision maker. That creates an advantage for him, which he's going to take advantage of that advantage. I got to find a better phrasing for that. He scored, I think, in 2 or 3 of the ones that they used him in. Obviously, the jumper is just pure and no hesitation, shooting the most threes per game of any rookie, making the most threes per game of any rookie. Really impressive. Just an elite shooter right now to start his career. But then he finds other ways. So he can do all of those things offensively. But then I just think he finds ways to impact the game. He was on Fears and Poole a lot throughout that game, and I thought he held up okay. And then one thing I love from guards, he's second in the rookie class in just purely defensive rebounding. Hasn't really made a huge impact on the offensive boards, but averaging over 5 defensive rebounds per game. And usually when a wing is going and grabbing defensive rebounds, those are ones that are really impactful. They're coming in on the weak side. They're coming in over the top. They're grabbing what is almost more like a loose ball because it bounces long. And he's the type of guy that's ending defensive possessions by being an impactful defensive rebounder.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really, really good point. In terms of the 3-point shooting, like he's already taking 8 threes a game, basically. I think he has made more threes through his first 8 games of his career than anybody in league history, if memory serves. Has just been utterly outstanding as a 3-point shooter to this point. Defensively, I agree with you. Like, I've always thought Con is like kind of underrated as an on-ball defender. Personally, it's more the off-ball stuff that so far has not been great for me. It's hard for me to gauge. Like, it's very clear that they do have him like trying to overplay dribble handoffs and things like that, and like overplay like on screens. But he also he's gotten beaten backdoor. Like in that Hornets game, he got beat, or not the Hornets game, I'm sorry. In the Pelicans game, he got beaten backdoor 4 times, in part because of his positioning. Like, they very clearly have him like getting on the top side and, trying to like reject those actions from actually being able to occur. But then, opponents are obviously just saying, okay, like I'll just back cut, right? And we'll try and get an easy layup that way. And he just does not have as much room for error athletically in those moments, right? In terms of recovery. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of adjusts, how the Hornets adjust like defensively and schematically to account for those things. But by and large, I've been pretty okay with his defense. And speaking of defense, we can go to Sion James. Like,
real quick, I want to just one thing that I want to watch with Con moving forward. It was a question I had coming in, was his rim finishing. Doesn't have a whole lot of attempts yet. He's at 50%. I'm just interested to see because you mentioned it, not the most explosive athletic guy. He's going to have to find other ways, playing off 2 feet, shot fake, stuff like that. It's early on. It's just something I will track with him, because for me, that's one thing that I think could limit his ceiling, where when you leverage your shooting and everything else to get to the rim, can you pay it off with the bucket? So I'm watching that moving forward.
Yep. Moving to Sion James, like just a perfect role player right now already. Like perfect, like 5th guy to have out on the court. He plays super hard on defense. He is tough. He is very good at the point of attack. If he walls up, you are not going through his chest. He is just extremely strong and physical already. And then offensively, it's just very simple, right? Is again, typically the 5th guy on the court, right? Stands in the corner, relocates up to the wing. If somebody closes out on him hard, he will attack closeouts and he will keep advantages for his team that way. I've liked the passing so far. He makes very quick reversals. That's another thing that Con does, makes very, very quick reversals. And like just everything is super smart. Like right now, Sion's averaging 9 points, 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, while shooting 62, 70, 91, just because he doesn't make mistakes is the thing. Like, he never seems to take a bad shot or a contested shot, generally moves the ball super quickly, and just understands like where the advantages are on the court. He's just making life easier for his teammates, while also taking advantage of when teams leave him open to try and guard some of their more capable, quote unquote, capable and more creative, maybe, scorers and offensive players.
Star in your role. He's come in, he's just starred in his role. He has this role. It's an important one in this league, and he's figuring it out very quick. I think my biggest takeaway from him, the camera had a close up on him the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, that dude was jacked. Like, I knew he was strong,
enormous,
but he was massive. And I did a video breakdown over on the Motor City Hoops Substack today, because it was about Isaiah Stewart and his defense this year. And in that, I highlighted what Stewart does well at what I call the cutoff point. That point where you have to cut off the driver. You cannot let the offensive player get any deeper into their drive. And that's often when an offensive player will bump you or whatever. But I say that because I think Stewart is one of the best in the NBA at holding his ground at that cutoff point. Sion James has the body and the ability to do the same thing as a smaller guard. Now, as a shorter player than like an Isaiah Stewart, somebody may just rise up and score over him, but you are not going to continue to push him back. And that's due to his strength and his size and the effort he gives. So I've been really impressed. He seems to make like the right plays at the right times. And obviously, as we mentioned earlier, it helps when you're just really, really knocking down shots.
Yeah. And then Kalkbrenner, as well, has been just awesome to this point. He's been so good. Started every game for the Hornets, averaging 27 minutes per game. When he got drafted, I mean, I think I said at the time that this was one of my favorite picks of the draft, just because I had him as a first round grade. I thought he would be able to step in immediately and be useful. So far, he's averaging 9 points, 7.1 rebounds, 2.4 blocks per game while shooting 83% from the rim. I know he had a stretch where I think he made 14 shots in a row for the Hornets. It was pretty ridiculous. He's just so smart. He's had really active hands as well so far. He's really good in pick and roll defense, in drops. He just knows where he's supposed to be all the time, it feels like. There are flaws here. He's not overly strong through his chest. You can kind of go through him a little bit. But if you give him space to block a shot, he's going to go up and get it. And if he doesn't, he's going to really contest it and make your life way more difficult. Kalkbrenner's been awesome to this point for them. And he's really, really, the duo of him and Diabate has been much more effective, I think, than what people thought coming into the year for the Hornets. I still think this is probably one of the 5 worst center rotations in the league, just because they're both really young and they don't have any real juice offensively unless something is created for them. But Kalkbrenner makes shots at the rim when things are created for him out of ball screens. He's pretty good in the dunker spot. He is just so incredibly efficient with everything that he does. And on top of that, he just knows where he's supposed to be on defense. He is the patented, right now, borderline starter backup, but because they have nobody else, he's stepped into this role and, performed it reasonably well to me.
To your point about his active hands, he averages over a steal a game also. He's at 3.7 stocks per game. There's nothing flashy about his game, but he just produces. He rebounds. He's big. He sets good screens, I think, which isn't always something you say about rookie bigs. The stock numbers, as I mentioned, are ridiculous. I love the way he plays with verticality, Sam. He is so good just playing straight up with verticality. I had that. I went back and looked at my notes. I'm like, gosh, I really hope I had that in my scouting notes. And I did. He might be elite playing with verticality at his size. That is really impactful. That's from my scouting report on him coming into the draft. And I think he's a little bit limited. He's going to be a drop coverage rim protector. The other thing I love about him, he's not afraid to get dunked on. He will contest things, and he's okay if, it doesn't always end up, in a positive way. But I also say this, in this game recently against the Pelicans, I mentioned that earlier, my favorite possession from him was, he set a really solid screen, created the advantage for his teammate, might have been Sion James. He rolled perfectly into an offensive rebounding position on the weak side and came down with the board. He just seems to do things. Listen, I wasn't the biggest Ryan Kalkbrenner fan coming in. I wasn't super high on him. And in general, I feel like I'm wrong right now. Because I do think he's a borderline starter, especially if he kind of develops some other things. We'll see how it plays out. But he, through these set of games, looks like an unquestioned, really nice piece of a center rotation, even if he's the backup.
Yeah, and where I'm really, really interested now with Kalkbrenner is, I felt like the duo of Diabate and LaMelo was the speed at which they were able to play with felt a little bit more LaMelo speed.
Sure.
To me. I'll look up the numbers while I'm talking here, but it felt like the Diabate combo, even though he's not the lob threat that Kalkbrenner is, just the ability to play fast, and Diabate is this crazy offensive rebounder and doing everything like that. It felt a little bit more natural to me. So I'm interested to see, I'm looking up the numbers right now, how that ends up settling with the center rotation. So actually, yeah, this is funny. So LaMelo with Diabate, 129 offensive rating, 115 defensive rating. LaMelo with Kalkbrenner is 120.9 offensive rating, 119 defensive rating. So little bit better with Diabate, but so small sample that you don't even want to really take a ton away from it necessarily. But that's a thing for me to track. Look, if they're at 120 with either of these guys, it's amazing. And it says so much about what LaMelo has been able to do this year. But, in recent days, obviously too, LaMelo has missed, quite a few of these recent games here with that ankle thing. And, we're just going to have to see, how this ends up kind of unfolding.
Yeah.
So no, I've loved I've loved all three of these guys with the Hornets. They've been outstanding. I've genuinely no notes to this point. Like and look, like the last thing I'll say is that people like kind of laughed when I said that like this is a culture draft. This is a draft that like reinvents who you are organizationally a little bit. Like all three of these guys have come in and been able to put a stamp on the game for the Hornets because all of the intel was that all three of these guys, their prep was absolutely elite. Like there's no question about that. All three of these guys play incredibly, incredibly hard, and they know how to impact the game. They come into games ready to go. They are just like good human beings that are going to consistently bring it night in, night out. And frankly, like that's what Charlotte needed. They needed to get more of these guys into their building. And the Hornets, to me, like why they've been a lot more watchable this year. Like in the games where LaMelo was there, LaMelo has been fantastic to this point this year. And B, a lot of the roles that like they needed around LaMelo have kind of sorted themselves out now with this trio, right? In a real tangible way. So I think that, that stuff off the court genuinely matters. And this, draft class so far is kind of a prime example of that to me.
Yeah, it was a really nice haul. We liked it then. It looks good now. I'm excited to see what it looks like, in another few weeks whenever we are doing our all rookie teams for the first time.
Yeah, exactly right. We're going to shout out our friends over at Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, yeah, like that actually works. Nutrafol is not like those other ads. It is physician formulated, clinically tested, and dermatologists recommended. Nutrafol is actually that number one dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and they are NSF Contents certified, gold standard and third-party certification for supplements. Adding Nutrafol into your daily routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription required. There, you will get automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. You'll have access on free one-on-one naturopathic doctor consults to support you in your hair growth journey. Plus, a Headspace meditation membership is included. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Game Theory. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code Game Theory. That's Nutrafol. Promo code Game Theory. Okay. Let's go to the Pelicans next, just because I feel like I've watched a lot of them in the last week, honestly. Jeremiah Fears and Derik Queen. Who do you want to start with? I'll kind of give you the floor for both those two because they've had like their moments, each of them.
I would rather start with Fears. I think I've been more impressed with him than Queen right now.
I have two for what it's worth. I know that Queen has gotten some like real excitement recently, but I have been over the course of the season more impressed with Jeremiah to this point.
I just feel like he pressures the paint over and over. Like He just gets to the rim, and I don't know if teams will eventually start playing off. Maybe they'll, I don't know. I want to start
they are already for what it's worth.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is they probably are starting to already do that, and he's still finding a way, which makes it even more impressive because if he really gets a 3-point jumper going, he's at 30% right now, he's going to be really tough to keep out of the paint. So I think that's where it starts for me is he's been able to translate that rim pressure to the NBA, which is extremely impressive. Yeah,
it was funny. So like the game that we talked about with Cooper a decent amount, the Pelicans Mavericks game, it was really fun. Like obviously the confidence with Fears is just always 1,000%. Came off of a curl to drill like a 3, then got a quick transition bucket, then had like an awesome ball screen to get Looney as a roller. Then like had a huge lob to Matkovic on a ball screen where like he just got, was able to engage the big defender and got Makovic behind him and threw the lob. Like, he dominated the first 5 or 6 minutes of that game, like completely dominated it. They were winning, I think, by like 12 by the end of that run. Like, it was really impressive. I think they scored like 18 points or something in those first 6 minutes. And then like you got to see the questions come out a little bit, where he ends up, overdriving and like getting himself in the air at the baseline and like just completely putting himself in prison, right? And throwing this like terrible turnover. And then the next time he like wildly throws one off the backboard in transition. And then like later in the first half, like he had a disgusting little like ball screen, snakes it with like a really quick crossover to split the defender, and then just gets into like the foul line area and drills a mid-range jumper. And it's like, man, you can really see the vision for how this is going to work.
Yeah.
It is just very inconsistent right now on like a minute by minute basis. Like, he has these stretches, I feel like, where he gets a whole lot of confidence and just kind of pours it on real quickly. And then he has stretches where like, the game against, who was it? It was Charlotte, where like he was borderline unplayable in that game, to be honest with you. Like, it just felt like he couldn't be out there in that game because of the decision making and some of the other things. Like, he didn't turn it over in that game, but like some of the shots he was taking were just not valuable. The defense is just like not good. He gives effort, but like it's just not good right now. So look, this is kind of the thing with these players, right? He has these incredible moments where you can see this ceiling that is all-star level player, but there's just kind of no margin for error on them, right? Where if they're not playing well for a couple minutes here or there, it just goes really poorly. And like, they can really tank you sometimes because they are very on the ball. And the standard for being an on-ball player in the NBA is just so incredibly high. It is ridiculously, obscenely high. If I was a Pelicans fan, I would really take solace in those moments where you can see the flashes of it really working. But at the same token, like, how his level of improvement is going to have to come, like the next steps for him are excising those like moments where he's unplayable, right? Forget the moments where like he becomes like genuinely goes from like great to just good. Like, let's just get rid of the terrible moments, right? If we do that, then we're like really cooking with gas here, I think.
Yeah, because I've even been impressed. I was worried about his size. He's finishing 60% at the rim right now. Some of his ability to take contact, his body control, finding glass for the finishes. But the defense, I'm glad you said he is engaged. I think he's giving effort on the defensive end. Yeah. It's just he's so small. He's going to really have to find a way to make his presence felt in those situations. But I think based on where I was in the context of that team and how things have gone there so far, I think I'm more positive than what I thought I would be. What are we, 8 games honestly, into his rookie season? Yeah.
I had him outside of the lottery. Like, I thought he was like a top 20 guy that was definitely an NBA player, but was probably more of like a backup guard. I'm more positive on him now than I was pre-draft for sure, because I can see everything we thought like speed wise that could translate, like fully just has translated.
Yeah.
He is an absolute blur and people like really can't stay in front of him. It really is like, okay, we have to start adding the next steps now. He's so young. Like, this is the thing. Like, he just turned 19. So we don't expect this to be here right now. It's just that that's the next step, is adding like some more poise and adding just some more of the good, positive decision making. Hopefully adding some more vision. Like, I think that the vision as a passer has been okay so far. It hasn't been particularly great. He has been much more of a scorer to me than like a full scale lead guard. But, other thing is that like, he just hasn't put, it's hard because they lost the first few games, like against Denver, for instance, like they just got like absolutely obliterated. And like, that's probably the game where he came closest to like putting it together, was like in that second half. But by and large, like he hasn't put a game together yet where he's like knocked down shots from distance, gotten into the mid range and like finished at the rim consistently, in the painted area. And then also like made really high level passing reads. Like typically every game, it feels like he's missing one of those things. Like he had a game against Oklahoma City where like he drilled 4 of 8 from 3, right? And, that ended up pushing him to 16 points on the game. But he also had 5 turnovers, didn't finish it super well in the interior, made some poor decisions, right? And then the game against Dallas, like he just didn't shoot it well, right? But I thought he made like slightly better decisions. And then the game against Charlotte, like he was just kind of like unplayable, like across the board. So it's just like a real roller coaster, which I think is what we thought it would be. But I think the big key for me is that the positive moments are better than I expected the positive moments to be this year for him. And that's the biggest, most important thing for me, is that like you can really see the positive flashes where it's like, oh, this might really, really work. And if it does, the ceiling is very high. It's just going to be that there are a lot of moving pieces that have to come together, and he has to like really, really improve for it all to come together in that way.
I'd be a lot less positive if we were sitting here going, yeah, he's not touching the paint. That hasn't translated. The speed isn't translating because the handle's not there, or the cadence isn't there, or whatever, right? Like he's not even close to strong enough. And I think he's obviously going to have to add strength, and that'll help him defensively as well. But the fact we can sit here and say that part has translated, now you just have to figure the other part out. And a lot of that's going to come through trial and error and failures throughout his rookie season, and frustrating games, frustrating shot attempts, frustrating turnovers that then he hopefully learns from and gets better throughout the season and into years 2, 3, etc.
Yeah. I think I would rank him higher than where I had him. I think I had him at like 16 or 17 or something pre-draft. I would have him higher than what I had him ranked. I don't think I would have him at like 7 long-term, which is where they took him, right? 7. Yeah. But like, I would have him in the lottery for sure to this point. He's like definitely an NBA player, I think. Like, no, like his floor is he's going to be a good scorer off the bench at least. Now, the key again is like the ceiling outcomes I think could be really, really high for him if it all comes together. Let's go with Queen now. So Queen has like really started to play in these last couple of games, and it's been a ride. The fourth quarter against Charlotte was like completely dominant. He was like fantastic in that game. I think he had like 12 points and 4 assists in the fourth quarter, and he played the entire fourth quarter and like actually kind of carried them to that win. And then the game against Dallas, like his first possession, like he gets a post up and just gets like immediately swatted by PJ Washington on the post up because his release point's quite low on his jumper. So like when he goes to like fade away to his right, PJ just like grabs the ball basically and swats him. And then, he ends up going like 3 for 8, I think, in the game. But then the makes were, oh my God, like he had a disgusting Euro step around Najee Marshall for like a sweet and one floater. And then he had like a sick Euro step in transition to get to the rim. And then like the third, like he had another like sick drive to be able to get to the line. And then at the end of the third quarter, he has this absolutely like filthy, like spin finish where he like gets to the rim and like scores. And then I think either at the start of the fourth or like the end of the third, he gets a stop on Gafford, runs the court, and then like gets the ball and finishes with his left hand like over the top of Gafford. And you're like, okay, I can see this vision. He makes a lot of really hard shots. I think my problem is that like I don't know that I've seen him create many easy shots to this point. But he is so good at making the hard ones right now and at creating like real opportunities with his footwork, his Euro steps, his spin moves, that like I am somewhat enthusiastic about it, even though like we'll talk about the defense as well, but like there are moments where it's like, oh, this just looks really bad on some level.
I'm struggling I'm struggling with it a little bit. I know people hate that we agree so much, but I had it in my notes. His shot diet still seems to consist of a lot of shots that are over contest from defenders. It just seems like the shot diet is very difficult. But the interesting stuff is so interesting. He had this like weird cadence, fake spin, Dirk fadeaway in that Charlotte game. It threw off the timing of Ryan Kalkbrenner so much he didn't even know what to do. Like he has this weird cadence that does throw off defenders.
He looks like he's moving in slow motion. Oh my god!
And I think that's what I'm struggling with is like I can't. But here's the dichotomy though, Sam. We continue to say, hey, he has these really cool Euros and footworks and these things, while at the same time, with all of that stuff, we're also saying his shot diet is extremely difficult. And to me, there's like that shouldn't be the case. If you have all of these weird cadences and moves and whatever, why aren't you creating easier looks? And maybe he will. He's just a rookie. I get it. But that's kind of my struggle right now. And even in that Charlotte game, as good as he was in the fourth, because leading up to the fourth, I was like, why is Sam doing a breakdown? This has not been impressive. But even
I'll have a breakdown on that game on the Substack, probably on like Monday or something at this point, because we have some stuff in the back end already.
Shout out DeAndre Ayton. I was like, you should be doing a breakdown on Makovic because his athleticism was unreal display in that game. Sorry, I did not know your skill level there. But he had 2 bad turnovers in the fourth quarter and in the final 90 seconds of that game as well against Charlotte.
Yeah, he did.
But bad ones through a the first time I played with somebody else that could dunk and I learned to try to throw lob passes, I'm throwing it off the shot clock. I'm like, that's what he threw one of his lob passes. But he had a couple big disruption defensive plays off the ball as well. I think he did something in transition, I think he jumped a passing lane and then he played in the passing lane on a sideline out of bounds. And while the defense isn't good, all of a sudden he was being disruptive. And so I think I need a bigger sample. Like that was a long way to get to a short point of some of these guys. I feel really good. I feel like I have a pretty good feel for where they're at. With Queen, I'm just going to need to see more before I have any kind of overwhelming thoughts on what he is, other than I know he's interesting and fascinating, and I'm going to continue to watch him play.
Yeah. I want a bigger sample on can he be efficient playing at this style? Like we've even seen guys like Şengün a little bit struggle with finishing at the rim, right? And Şengün right now is just like way stronger than he is, right? And even like entering the NBA, honestly, I thought he was stronger than what Derik is. The thing I will say about Derik though, is I saw him work out pre-draft, and I didn't say this publicly pre-draft because like I don't want to do this to kids, but like I didn't think he shot well in the workout, right? I thought it was like very flat and didn't look particularly good coming out of his hand, and I was like somewhat worried about the shot long term. I think the shot looks better mechanically right now. It's coming out with like real arc. He very clearly has touch. Like there's no question about that. And I actually think I'm a little bit more bullish on him maybe shooting it at some point, especially from that mid-range area, than what I was entering the process, right? If he can shoot it, it does like really change things for him because he'd be able to get defenders off balance like in all sorts of really fun, creative ways. Ultimately, to me, it's going to come down to the defense. I don't think teams are attacking him quite yet, maybe in the way that they should be in space. And part of this is that like the two teams that he's played, like since he's like really, really entered the rotation, like, look, he's played every game for them. I'm not going to sit here and say like he hasn't been into games, right? Like he played a bunch in the San Antonio game early in the year and was quite good in that game too. But then he like was kind of like a 10 to 12 minute a game guy, it felt like to me, for the next 3 or 4 games. And then these last 2 since Zion's been out, the role's just been a little bit bigger. Like Charlotte without LaMelo, like didn't really have the ability to like get him in space and really make his life hard. And then obviously Dallas like just doesn't have that ability to get him in space and make his life a little bit more challenging, right? So, just looking at their upcoming schedule with what they have coming up, like they have San Antonio, who could really get him into space with Wemby. They have Phoenix, who like not really, just not a good enough offense really. Portland like can't really get him into like a ton of space with like super high level guard play and shooting bigs. The Lakers like will pull him out. Like Luka will pull him out. Austin will pull him out every single time. I think that's kind of the game that I want to see. That's in like a week. They play the Lakers on I think Thursday or Friday next week. If he can handle those kind of matchups without getting absolutely cooked, that's when I'm like, okay, we're cooking with gas. I want to see teams that can really pull him out into space because while he has had like really good anticipatory moments because he just is a hooper who like naturally understands like things on the court, like from having grown up like playing on, blacktops and things like that. Like if you hear him tell his story, like that's how he figured out how to play. Like he played against older dudes. And I think he just developed like a real natural feel for the game in a way that deserves a lot of credit, frankly. I want to see what it looks like with teams who can like purposely attack him and get him into space because the movement stuff to this point, I think has been quite slow twitch laterally and, going north-south particularly, which is what my big worry was for him was going north-south, like closing out, scrambling, and like getting into ball screen situations where he's forced to go north-south.
But Phoenix might be able to a little bit. I mean, Booker playing in ball screens and like if he's playing with Oso and Oso's going to get out and short roll and then floor spacers. So it will be interesting. It's weird because I like look at the defensive rebounding numbers per minute and I just didn't feel like I felt his presence defensively in the paint, like his rim protection, his defensive rebounding.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah.
And so like, I don't know that the numbers fully back that up, but I feel like he struggles on the boards with his size and even strength. It just feels like guys are able to kind of go get offensive rebounds. And then I don't think he intimidates anybody in the paint. So I'm just, again, the bigger sample size of how does that hash out and work out for him on that end?
Yeah. But again, like the positive moments, like he's thrown some really high level passes. He threw a disgusting like lefty wraparound pass in that Charlotte game where I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That is like, that is stuff we've seen a little bit of from him before, but like the 7 assists he had in that game, like a lot of them were really high level looks. Like they weren't just like handoffs where like Jordan Poole or someone like drilled a shot, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. There's upside here with Queen. It's just, I want to see more in terms of like, can he live off of this shot diet and can he defend at a real level? But like, honestly, the two rookies right now for the Pelicans are the reason for excitement to me. If I was like trying to search for it, now obviously there's an immense amount of pressure on Derik Queen because of both the Pelicans pick and the Pacers pick that like are tied to him long term, unfortunately. But hey, like I've enjoyed the experience of just watching these two rookies, even though they're playing in like a wholly incompetent, situation.
Yeah, I watch a lot of Pelicans games as well because of those two guys trying to figure out when Trey Murphy's going to get out of this early season funk. I enjoy watching Herb Jones. He is awesome. He's so good defensively for a guy that's probably not going to end up in an all defense team because they're going to be so bad as a team. I like watching a lot of players on this roster. So
yeah, I've been glad the last two games that they've like really fought and played hard because the OKC game, the Denver game, and the Boston game, like it felt like they kind of like stopped playing there for a minute, and it's been nice to see them play a little bit more aggressively and play a little bit harder, honestly. Okay, let's go to Coward next. Actually, I said we were going to do Dylan next, but we'll go to Coward next and like get the guys out of the way that like are playing really well to me. Cedric Coward would definitely be first team all rookie right now. So you, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like kind of no question asked to me.
Yeah.
14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 53, 41, 90. It has just been fantastic. Every single time that I see him play, he continues to just earn like more and more and more minutes, even though he's coming off of the bench for them. It's just a game that's tailor-made for the NBA in so many ways. 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. Everything flows so well. He's obviously a real shooter. Like he is going to knock down shots at a high level. But then it's the way he plays off of knocking down shots, right? Like if he gets a clean runway to the rim because he attacks closeout, he's able to finish there with ease. If he doesn't get a clean runway, we'll talk about like the next step for him in terms of what he has to improve, I think. But I've loved him just in terms of the way that his game works within their scheme. Like they obviously want to get way up tempo and play up and down. He's had no problems filling driving lanes and transition lanes at the rim. He's had no problems spraying out to the 3-point line, and like knowing when to do both of those things on offense, I think has been really good for him. Defensively, he provides a presence for sure. I think sometimes he gets caught on screens. I think sometimes like the lateral foot speed isn't quite as great and smooth as it is for like OG Anunoby, for instance, like another guy that has these like crazy long arms and everything, right? But
go ahead.
But like I think he's been effective on defense though to this point. Like he is, you feel his length in terms of how he contests shots. You feel his length and how he covers ground out there in a real way.
OG was the name I was referencing earlier. Like
give me the pitch on OG. Yeah.
So I was just watching Coward, and one of my notes is just like, he has a very simple game, but that's in a very positive way. And whenever I think of OG Anunoby, I think of a very simple game. Knock down shots, attack closeouts. Obviously, Coward would have to continue to build out his frame because like OG is just like massive and has filled out and maximized his frame. But I can bully you a little bit to the rim. I can finish through contact. And then defensively, I'm going to be really good off the ball. I'm going to beat you up and be physical on the ball. And my real limitation is going to be like, can I navigate screens the most effective? Because I can't always get skinny and fluid and all of that. I just, as I watched him and thought about the ceiling, it's like, I could see this being the very simplistic, but important and valuable two-way impact that OG Anunoby gives the New York Knicks. And so that was the pitch I wanted to throw at you to see if you could at least envision that, even if there are subtle differences between them.
So I see the pitch, and I think it's actually like fairly right in terms of what I think his like overall ceiling is going to end up being, with one like minor caveat.
Okay.
OG, the way he moves his feet is not normal for somebody that's that big and that long. Yeah. Also, OG is like bigger than he is too.
So that's what I was wondering. He's taller. Is he? I wonder what the length is.
Taller, and I think they're about the same length, maybe like, you know, an inch in OG's favor, but like taller. And honestly, I think OG is like way stronger through his chest and like frame, right? So that's the difference.
Real quick, Sam, OG standing reach is just under 9 feet and Coward's is 8 feet, 10 inches.
Yeah. So I think there's just like a slight difference there in terms of size, but more it's the way he moves his feet. Like OG has the quietest, like laterally elite movement I've ever seen for somebody at that size. Like he and Kawhi was another guy that had this when he was in San Antonio, like prior to the injuries. Their feet were so quiet in the way that like they were able to drop their hips and like laterally stay in front. They were somehow like light on their feet, like a cat, like landing off of like a 10-foot drop, while also being able to like explosively like move to the left and to the right if somebody like countered off of them and they had to recover and like really push off of one of their feet, right? And laterally slide. So I don't think Coward quite has that level of explosiveness or like quiet feet. And I think he's not going to quite be like an all defense guy, is what I would say. Like OG is one of the, 10 best perimeter defenders in the league. Coward's going to be like a really positive perimeter defender who I think just falls short of that threshold, right? But offensively, I see exactly what you're saying. Even down to where I think the biggest improvement area for Cedric is. Because right now, it's that his gathers are just not good enough going to the rim. I feel like he probably, like when he was younger, and I haven't asked Cedric about this, like when I met him pre-draft, but maybe this summer I might try and get in touch with them, or maybe do something at some point with him and like talk through it now that I'm thinking about it. Like I would bet you that when he was taught to do everything off of 2 feet, because that's what a lot of coaches teach players, right? Even up to the high school level. But in the NBA, you kind of can't do that on your gathers because of how big and long and athletic everybody is, and because of how tight the windows close. You do need to be able to go off of 1 from time to time and like continue to maintain your footwork through your gathers. And then especially with someone like him who has all the length in the world, be able to like go off of 1 and then extend and use your frame to shield the ball, right? And get all the way to the rim. I feel like he's not quite as good of a finisher as what he could be down the road. He's an unbelievable worker. Like that kid is going to work, endlessly to be able to reach the ceiling that he can. I think he probably averages 20 points a game at some point in his career is where I'm at. And I think that this will improve in some respect. If it takes a big leap, he could be like a real dude and be like a, 22 to 24 point per game scorer while giving you really positive defense. I think where I'm at is that he's probably going to be like a top 75 player in the league at some point. The jury is out on like what the overall like on ball ceiling is, because we just haven't seen him like do a lot of ball screen stuff yet. We haven't, and like the gather stuff, even when he's attacking closeouts, getting to the rim and trying to finish isn't quite as clean as I want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at his play types, it's transition, it's spot ups, cuts, offensive rebound. But I have seen in the games I've watched, I've seen him like make some tough buckets at the rim, like bodying a defender.
Yeah.
He had one in Indiana where he bodied Jarris Walker and then used his length to reverse and finish on the other side. He had one where he took the contact from Isaiah Stewart and then able to finish with that contact. So there have been possessions, there have been examples. And I just realized I didn't filter out the preseason as I've done synergy numbers throughout this episode. So I'll try to be better looking at that moving forward. But, he's at 63% at the rim during the regular season. That's not bad for him. It's not a huge sample yet, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think there's a ton of ball skill. I don't think there's a ton of wiggle and side to side from him off the bounce, but knockdown shots, attack closeouts, and straight line drives, and finish with your physicality at the rim. I'm just kind of into the simplicity of his game and the value that can bring Memphis. We liked him going into the draft. He's one that I think a lot of times when we say we like a player more, it's because we are maybe lower and then they're showing. Like I think I like him more, and it was a guy I liked going into it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, I think I had him at like 7 or something pre-draft.
You were higher than me. Yeah.
I think I was higher than anybody in the public sphere. So like where he is kind of where he is better than what I thought he'd be early in his career for sure. But like the upside things that could push him into that next tier of player, right? We haven't seen those yet. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know that it changes my thoughts, even though he's a little bit better than what I thought early on, it doing like the non-negotiables for his role. Right.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. Unbelievable player. Like real building block for a Grizzlies situation that is remarkably uncertain now. It feels like between what John Morant has going on. Here's the other thing about the Grizzlies too, by the way, that like, I just want to call out because I think that people probably haven't done this enough, frankly. They're without 4 of their rotation guys right now. Like all of Zach Edey, Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Brandon Clark were expected to play at least 20 minutes a game this year. So you're losing 80 minutes. That's like a position and a half per game of production. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, very hard to overcome that, even though like only a couple of those guys might be like truly household names for people, right? Those guys are all like Zach Edey was going to be their starting center and probably play 28 minutes a night, 30 minutes a night. Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson like have incredible chemistry together. And like Brandon makes it so that Jaren can play like the quote unquote five, or, you know, if you want to say Brandon's the five, whatever it is, but you can play those two in the front court together. And it works a lot better than what we've seen so far from Memphis with Jaren lineups at the five, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, plus the point guard position, like Javon Small, all due respect to Javon, like he's trying really hard. He just isn't efficient enough because he's a rookie entering the league, and like maybe he becomes something, maybe he doesn't, but you know, it's a rookie two-way guy that has to play 100 minutes so far this year for you. So look, they have bigger problems. Like they have to figure out Ja, they have to figure out everything that's going on there. But I do at least want to call out that part of the reason that for all of this right now is that they were planning on playing this style of basketball that required like quick substitutions and things like that. And you lost half of your rotational depth to start the year. You know what I mean?
Your Cam Spencer disrespect here, like he's not holding up the mantle, is very disheartening.
Cam and Cedric are the last two guys I'm worried about in this rotation. Cam has been great, particularly in the last week. And then Cedric has also been absolutely a stud. The real problem's been like Jalen Wells and KCP have been just unfortunately dreadful to this point. Jalen, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah,
that was very funky.
I mean, and like I said, this is KCB. Well, the percentages are worse than they were in Orlando, but we saw this last year in Orlando with him as well. Jalen's the one that I'm nervous about. Not nervous, but yeah, I'm tracking.
He's too good of a shooter to shoot 25% from three over the course of the season. Like he'll get it up to like 37 at some point this year, I think. It's just like I even think he's been like a little bit worse defensively this year too than what we've seen. So yeah, the Jalen Wells rookie experience has not been the Jalen Wells sophomore experience, unfortunately. Okay. Let's go to Dylan now. Dylan Harper, you know, unfortunately is going to miss a bit of time here moving forward, but I really enjoyed the first few games. The reason we're not talking about him yet is because like the calf injury, it feels like is going to hold him out for what, probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It feels like multiple weeks is the way that they explained it. I hope he can get healthy. And if I'm them, given like calf injury risk, I am playing this as conservative and basic as I possibly can. Like if it takes him a month and a half to get back, I'm just like, that's fine. You take the time. It's okay. You're a piece of us. You're a piece of our build long term. And what is most exciting though is that I think in his first, 6 games that he played, really 5 because he got hurt in the Phoenix game, but in those first like 5 or 6 games, we really saw exactly what the pitch is for Dylan Harper and why he can be so effective and so special and why he has a chance to be an all NBA player at some point. Muted.
Gosh dang it. I've been so good recently. For me, it always starts defensively with Harper. I've been so impressed. I know I've talked about it multiple times, but it really is. I loved his defense for a young guard in the league. I thought he was doing a really nice job of that. We saw him knock down threes. He's 46%, super small sample. 5 of 11 is probably the better way to say it on catch and shoot threes. We've seen him pressure the rim in the game against the Suns that I watched. Just a sick deceleration finish going to his right. Like you just see the body control. We talk about Jeremiah Fear's speed translating to the NBA. With Dylan Harper, it was, can this kind of like body control, decel, change of pace, in and out dribble move stuff, can that all translate? And I think we've seen examples of him being able to do that. And so that's where I was really excited. He's been able to pressure the rim. He showed off some end-to-end speed. He showed off some court mapping. And then again, I just want to emphasize, the defense. I came away very impressed with what he was able to provide defensively. I found myself going like, man, Dylan Harper, Steph Castle, Victor, that's you got something going there on the defensive end with those guys. If it all pans out, obviously he's got a long way. Steph has been, not to like change, Steph is, he's good.
On defense for sure. I have some, maybe
no, that's what I meant. Like defensively, I'm like, he's so physical with people. But anyway, so that's where I'm at on Dylan Harper.
Yeah, it has been fantastic. Like the Pelicans game, like he had a play where like he just bumped Derik Queen and just moved him like all the way back. You know what I mean? And it was just like, oh wow, he's like very, very strong. Had like a pretty sick anticipation pass, like up to the wing for Vassell for an easy three. I thought that like he really started to slow down was the thing with Dylan. Like you started to see the pace like really come in, and he was figuring out the pace of play, letting plays develop. Had like a really nice synergy, I thought, with Luke Cornett in the backup units. Then they like really couldn't keep him out of the paint. We saw all the like flexibility stuff with the finishes. You know what I mean? Like all that's pretty real. The transition ability is just super real. Consistently gets downhill. Like his ability to get downhill in a hurry and like in a blur is so important. And like even in the game against Miami that we broke down, like he smoked a few layups early on, and like there was just no concern. Like there was absolutely no worry. He threw like an awesome like scoop lob up to Wemby in that game that was pretty sick. And then in the third, like came out and drove and got fouled in transition, and then like he had a cross corner kick to Keldon Johnson. Like the game was really slowing down, while also he was showing serious downhill ability. And those are the guys that are just really special, right? The ability to play at speed while also playing with like poise and like, quietness, for lack of a better word, I guess. But yeah, awesome start to Dylan Harper's career. I'm glad you brought up the defense, obviously, and hopefully this calf strain, just doesn't hold him out for a significant amount of time, and that he gets back fully healthy.
Yeah, that's the thing now, is you just want to see him on the court so you can continue to evaluate and analyze. And then I think a huge part of that evaluation is seeing the growth. Whenever teams start to guard you a certain way or take away, they scout you and figure out, hey, he really likes to do this or do that. Then how do you adjust? Where does the jumper go? Can the defense stay all year? What other little nuances and impacts can you make? Defensive rebounding, all of those things. And we're just going to miss that here for a little bit. That's okay. But I'm with you first and foremost. Like, don't mess around with this and make sure he's back fully healthy. Yeah. And then, again, he can come off the bench. I don't know. Well, how close is Fox to being back?
It's a good question.
I didn't know if Fox would be back by that. It sounds like we're getting close to return. So, I think by the time Harper's back, Fox will be back. And so, yeah, they can integrate Fox and then bring Dylan back after that. So,
yeah, like we're at the point now where like, I think it's like, I don't think he's playing tomorrow, but maybe that'll be proven wrong. But like, it seems like he's not playing tomorrow based off of reporting. But like, it's at the point where it's every day they're saying, oh, he's not playing today. You know what I mean? It's not like a long-term thing. It's we're close, and he'll be back very, very soon. Like I would guess next week, it feels like, but we'll see. That's based off reporting, not based off of anything I know. I'm just like reading into the tea leaves on the reporting on that. Okay. You haven't seen a ton of Murray-Boyles yet.
Collin Murray-Boyles. I have not. So
I'll just take this one.
Yeah, you take this one.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is they have really had a plan for him, which is really good, first and foremost. The Memphis game particularly, I thought was like really impressive. He goes for like 15, 9, and 5, and he starts essentially at the center position while Pirtle was out. Was also quite good in the San Antonio game. He had 19 points in that game. But what stands out to me immediately is just like when Pirtle was out, they had a plan for how to use him. They essentially played him at the center, and it wasn't what I was worried about, what you and I were worried about with Collin coming into the year, where like a team would stick him in the corner, have him like go dunker spot to corner and not use what makes him special as an offensive player, right? In terms of the passing, the ability to like play off of movement, screen and roll, get into the short roll, play into like, you know, different actions. Like they're using him a lot as a screener. Like some like weird like delay stuff where, you know, he'll come and then set a screen or, you know, initiate at the top of the key. Really attacking centers with him and with his speed. They will like have him like, you know, 45 cut, some like slot, you know, attacks, you know, stampede, like slot attacks that are fun. A lot of short roll, it feels like to me when I watch him, like they're using him a ton in the short roll and, you know, having him be able to like diagnose what's happening on the court that way. All of that stuff says to me, okay, like we were worried even about Toronto this year, right? Like, would they play him at the 4? Would they play him at the 5? The good news is that like, even when Pirtle was in and they were using Pirtle with the starters, like I felt like he had really good synergy and chemistry with Sandro as well, which allowed, you know, Sandro to kind of space a little bit.
Yeah.
And then maybe even like run some inverted stuff with Sandro as a ball handler occasionally, like with an early, you know, attack and transition or something, with like a screen and a short roll from Murray-Boyles that way. But like having Sandro allows them to use Murray-Boyles in the way that he should be used, frankly, on offense, which is really good. And defensively, he's just an absolute demon. Like he is just everywhere on defense in terms of like activity and aggression and, you know, kind of flying around and getting his hands on the ball and things like that. You know, as a center, the rim protection stuff I think will be pretty interesting to track long term. I did feel like Houston particularly like was able to catch him just with like some of their supersized lineups in that game, but you know, at Cleveland and Memphis, like it wasn't as big of a problem to me. So overall, like very positive on Collin so far. Like again, to me, like pretty clearly a top 10 rookie that we've seen so far. And that's exciting, I think, for Raptors fans for sure. Even though, what did I'm trying to remember what all, yeah, like I think pretty exciting. Pretty exciting is the best way to put it.
Yeah. You know, just listening to you talk about it, like him and Memu together, that seems like a nice little combination off the bench. You know, like just the skill sets that they would have. And I guess my question would be, I mean, he's at 43% on 3 right now. Obviously, low volume.
I didn't even want to mention that until the end. But
has it looked okay?
The shot has never looked terrible. You know what I mean? Like, it's never looked totally awful. It's just the problem is that, like, I don't know, man. I just don't know if I buy it yet. Like, it's just, we've seen him shoot for so long, like you and I, for the last like 2 years, right? And it just hasn't really gone in at a level commensurate with what we would hope for. He takes wide open ones. Like they are wide open. Like he's not getting contested. Teams are not like totally guarding him out there, but he has made them. He's made 1 3 a game so far. Like, you know, he's literally made 6 threes, which is a good sign. And, you know, maybe he is good enough. It does still take him like a minute to load into it, to like really get his feet down, get set, fire, you know, with the left, obviously. But, you know, like all he has to do is make the wide open ones at a 35 to 40% level. And, you know, look, teams aren't going to guard him out there. Put it that way. The shot is not fixed to the point where anybody is going to start, you know, really being like, we have to close out on him immediately. I think they're going to keep letting him shoot threes.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
Okay. So the last couple guys here that have played 100 minutes, Trey Johnson, you have any Trey Johnson thoughts? I'll kind of let you go first.
Yeah, I watched a game here recently. Let me pull up. Yeah, I think just the shot making, you know, is the biggest thing with him, and that's where it's gonna. I feel like in his rookie season, that's where everything's gonna hinge on. It's just like being able to make shots. How do they get him shots? You mentioned this, like he was kind of having to create a lot of his own looks. I feel like that's gotten better. Like, what are your thoughts on that in terms of like him getting some better looks here early in the season? I think it was the preseason where it was like, man, he's really having to do a lot of it on his own. And I felt like the regular season game I watched, maybe there was a little bit more for him.
It still feels to me like it's a lot of on-ball creation for him. Like if you look at synergy right now, it's, he's got how many total possessions here? I can't pick that up off the top of my head. I can do some math at some point, but like his four most common possession types, where he has basically all of his possessions, ball handler is by far the most common, and then handoffs is the fourth most common. Like he's taking 40% of his possessions in those situations, and then 45% in spot up and transition. Like his most common possession type should not be as a pick and roll ball handler, right?
Correct.
Now. It's been better. Like the scoring in those situations, I think has been fine. He's been pretty good getting to his spots in the mid range, particularly out of those, ball screen situations, and being able to get to the elbows and just absolutely drilling those shots, because that's who he is. Like he's very good in those situations. But like, I just don't understand why we're still here, and this guy who's like a monster movement shooter, like it truly like is awesome at flying off of screens, has taken 5 shots off of screens in 8 games.
Okay, so that's looking at that. So I'm looking at his Texas numbers. He shot ridiculous off screens and off handoffs last year at Texas.
He's really good at it. So can we get him more actions where he's like running off of? Can we run him in like Spain actions more consistently, where he's like flying out to the wing and getting an open shot that way? Can we run him more consistently off of curls, and like even get him mid-range shots off of curls if we want to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're trying to get him to those elbow spots, let's do that. Even still, like off of screens this year, like he has taken 2 shots from the mid-range and 2 shots from 3. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And he's made both the shots from mid-range. So like you can do this more consistently with him. Make his life easier. Again, like same with Cooper Flagg. Like this dude can shoot the shit out of the ball, guys. Make his life easier and take advantage of what his skill set is. Like I'm not sitting here saying that like they're asking him to be an on-ball player, because they're not really. Like they're asking him to create a lot of his actions, because this offense is fairly stagnant most of the time in half-court settings, even though, they try to play at a ridiculously high pace. Yeah, this is probably the team I've enjoyed watching least in the NBA right now, to be honest with you, just because there is like no defensive competency here to me, like zero. And while Alex Sarr has been like really, really good to this point, he's been really good against like the 3 worst defensive front courts in the league right now, in Charlotte, Boston, and Philadelphia, like the 3 games that he had monster breakouts. I don't really care. Like I think he's been great to start the year, and I love what I've seen from him. Particularly, I love the aggressiveness around the rim, and I love that they're using him finally as like a downhill rim presence. And he's decided like I can take the contact and be able to finish there. Like that was a huge next step for him, and he looks really, really good when opposing teams don't have great front courts. It's been a little bit more hit or miss against like big physical front courts, but positive, like you can't be anything other than positive about Alex Sarr right now. It's just like that feels like the only part of the scheme to me that's like working, to be honest with you. Like even like Keyshawn George recently, if you take away like the 2 monster games he had to start the year, like it's been okay, right? Like over his last 6 games, he's averaging 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's turning the ball over 3 times a game. He's fouling almost 5 times a game. And yeah, he's shooting 50, 40, 50, but like it hasn't been quite as sweet as what it was early on in the season, when I think you and I were looking at it and it's like, oh no, this guy's like here.
Breakout.
This guy's like a real breakout.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've struggled a lot with the context of this team because there's no real like core competencies that I can rely on a night to night basis with them.
Yeah, the more we looked into that, I was wrong. Like it hasn't gotten good enough. Getting him the shot types that he needs to be getting. And it's not like he's shooting bad. I mean, he's 36% on 5.5 attempts. The rim finishing stuff is worrisome. But again, to the point, like get him off screen, get him off handoff, get him off movement. Those were the most impressive makes in college. Those were the things that he looked really comfortable with. And so again, I'll backtrack here with myself that's not nearly good enough whenever you really look into the numbers. They've got to fix that to put him in a better opportunity to not be successful, but just make an impact in the way he can as a rookie.
Well, and look, like he's averaging 12 points a game.
Yeah.
Even still, in spite of this, like he's a rookie that is in double figures in scoring.
Yep.
You know, while playing 25 minutes a night, like it's fine. It's just, like where he can be more efficient, right? And because he just hasn't been like wildly efficient to this point, is if you get him like moving off of actions and like you set him up for success. I don't think he's been quite as set up for success as some other guys.
Leverage that into eventually attempts and opportunities for everybody else on the roster, right? Like that's the whole idea of a movement shooter is when he comes flying off a screen, they mess it up and two guys chase him. I realize he's not Steph Curry in gravity, but NBA defenders miscommunicate. They mess up. It's going to drive other offense for his teammates along with himself.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I'm really interested just to see what their backcourt is long term because the Bub Carrington experience, we're going to do sophomores at some point in the next couple of weeks, but like the Bub experience hasn't been what I hoped it could be.
No.
I think is the way to put it. When Trey Johnson, so he's played like half of his minutes with Bub, half without Bub. Without Bub on the court, he's averaging 3 more points per 75, 1.2 assists more, and he has a true shooting percentage. It's like 10% better. 59% to 49% when he's playing with Bub. So, unfortunately, that's one I might have taken L on is Bub. Like he just hasn't proven ready to play yet at this point.
Bub is 24% on 2-pointers right now.
Not great. Not a great spot. The other guy who's played a lot so far is Egor Demin. Look, I don't want to like take a ton of time on Egor just because it's obviously not very positive. I was not a big Egor guy entering the draft because I didn't think he could get by anybody. And I didn't really buy the shot. So, unfortunately, that is kind of what's occurred. He has not been able to get by anybody. He's has taken, let's see here. Where are we at now? 5 2-point attempts in 7 games, most of which I think came in one game, by the way. For the first, 5 games, first 4 games of his career, he had taken 0 attempts from 2-point range somehow. I wasn't sure that was possible, but is what it is. And it feels like the handle is not quite good enough to get by anybody on top of it. So while like you can have this amazing vision, and he does have amazing vision, if you can't force rotations and you can't force help and you can't force teams to like react to you, you don't get to take advantage of the vision quite as much. So yeah, I unfortunately have not been particularly enthused by Egor to this point.
And the 3-point percentage has dipped a little bit as well. And like that's what's concerning. What was concerning to me beyond just the fact he couldn't get a 2-pointer off is what if the 3-point percentage doesn't stay up at 40? Like, what are you providing scoring wise? And then offensively, if you all of a sudden become a 30% 3-point shooter, which I think is reasonable that might be it. Cause right now he's at 32. He went 7 of 11 to start the season. And since then he's gone 3 of 11, 13, 15, 20 over his last 5 games. all of this small sample, but Sam, if he's not making threes and he can't get to twos, and it's not like we're going to talk super positive about his defense or his defense at all, it's not a great situation right now.
I mean, do you want to talk about the defense real quick?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's just not very good. I mean, but I didn't expect it to be very good. You know what I mean? Like, that's my thing is a lot of what my concerns were. And I think this is a player that we were similar on, have proven to be, I'll be honest, his lack of ability to go by has been worse than what I thought it was going to be. You know, like I thought there was going to be a little bit more juice than what we've seen thus far. And that is worrisome, even in a small sample size. I am nervous about this one, even in a small sample size. And while we always give context to team, this is probably the worst team in the NBA.
I think they are probably the worst team in the NBA. Yeah, it's a good question. Like, it's going to be a battle down there between Brooklyn. Certainly I think New Orleans might have a case at some point. Brooklyn and Washington are the two worst that I've seen so far. For sure. Really aggressively rough, those two teams. Let's go grab bag real quick to finish up. The last two rookies that have played over 100 minutes, I believe, are Walter Clayton and Ace Bailey. I don't want to spend a ton of time on Ace, and the only reason that I don't is because he looked really good in preseason and then had that knee injury. So I want to get him a little bit further away from the knee injury. He's obviously been terrible so far in the NBA. It just hasn't gone well. He's shooting 32, 13, 88 so far and averaging 5 points and 3 rebounds. But I think I want to kind of see if we can get further away from the injury and it starts to look a little bit better. And he just looks like a little bit he doesn't look as explosive as what he did even in the preseason.
I watched him recently against the Pistons, and I will say the most impressive thing he did was hit the offensive boards. He had a really good one where, he just elevated over, I believe it was Cade, and then a little dump off to Markkanen. He really flashed. He had about 2 or 3 shots in that game where I think he had a crossover on Cade into a tough mid-range jumper. He had a tough one over LeVert. So he flashed some of those things, but it was flashes. So we'll see where it ends up once he kind of gets his legs under him. I think one context that's important for Utah with these rookies is the loss of Walker Kessler for the rest of the year. That's just going to make that team that much worse defensively, takes away a screener on the offensive end and all of that. You're really relying on Nurkic, who I think has been good for them offensively. But I do think that that's an important context for them moving forward, not having Kessler whenever you're just talking about trying to evaluate these guys. So, and then I think for Walter Clayton Jr., it's been okay. I'm interested to see, right now, I feel hey, maybe a quality backup guard in the NBA. But we'll see how it goes the rest of the year.
Yeah. One thing I will say with Ace too, it feels like they're not creating as many shots for him from 3 as well as what they did in the preseason, run some actions for him and get him loose from 3 at the end of the day. We both think he's definitely a shooter. Let's see if we can get him loose a little bit from 3, maybe with some primary actions for him when he's on the court. That might be fun.
I will say this, Detroit just top locked everything. And that seemed to really frustrate. Lowry's good at that because he can go catch lobs over the top. But Ace looked a little confused. You know what I mean? It's a rookie. Yeah. Okay, now I'm getting top locked. I'm not catching it over the top. How do I navigate, still get to my spots? That type of stuff. So it may take him a little while to figure out against different coverages. How do I use this screen, get to the catch?
Well, Con did that in the game against Charlotte, and he went and back cut and dunked all over Con at one point. So I would like to see him do a little bit more of that maybe. Sure. But yeah, it's been very bad for Ace. There's just not really another way to put it. He has looked genuinely quite poor. But again, I want to give him a little bit of grace if he's still not looking great when we do this in like a month or a month and a half, we'll probably go a little bit harder, I would guess, on him than what we are here. But yeah, he's looked not very good. Clayton looks like a good backup guard to me. Like, he is making shots at a reasonable level. He is definitely doing a good job of like initiating the offense. Like, I wonder if they're kind of telling him to like, hey, like, let's focus on that part of your development this year. Like, really get you making better passing reads and like making sure you see the court at the level you're going to need to play point in the NBA. The score, like it just feels like he doesn't have a ton of juice, like kind of driving into the lane consistently to score right now. But when he gets there and like takes the shot, like it does feel like he is able to like make those shots that he does create. It's just that I feel like he's struggling to create them a little bit in the paint and consistently get the paint touches.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Let's see here. Hugo Gonzalez, any thoughts?
He plays with a lot of energy. Plays
I
really
think
hard.
that there might not be a player with a better motor in the NBA right now than Hugo. What a fun, high energy, highly aggressive player. 14 points a night of balls to the wall, all gas, no breaks. Let's just annoy the shit out of the opposition, go get every loose ball, be as tough defensively as I can be, and run out in transition and try and get a couple of points that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting if he can knock down shots.
Yeah, like can we get any offense from Hugo at some point? That'd be fun. The last guy I really want to talk about is Will Richard. Will Richard has been like unquestionably one of the like 10 or 12 best rookies in the league, right?
Yeah, I
like
mean,
I don't know exactly where he'd fall, but
between the role player impact and then the 30, was it a 30 ball on Wednesday night? Is that right? 30 ball, right?
He had a 30 ball on Wednesday night. It was ridiculous.
With some of those guys setting, but
it wasn't like he drilled 10 threes. It's just like standing in the corner. Like he had a couple of cuts. Like he got out in transition. Like he only made 5 threes. It was really quite good, honestly.
He's been awesome, man. I think we've talked about it. We've referenced it a little bit. That team trusts him right now. They trust him to be in the right spot. They trust him to make the right play. He makes like those little hustle plays. He plays with great energy. He's making shots, which obviously really matters in the role that he's in. I don't know, man. It seems like maybe he's carved out a little bit of a role for himself with that team just coming off the bench. I don't think either of us think there's a crazy high upside ceiling here, but I mean, where they got him, if he can come in and give them 15 minutes a night and some shot making, that's a ton of value.
Yeah, to me, he's like the guy that everybody in the NBA should just, like, if you're entering the league, should be watching right now. Just literally do what he does. Be super conscientious on defense, know exactly where you need to go at all times, provide like a real point of attack difficulty for the opposition. You know, he's not like the world's best defender, but he fights and he scratches and claws through screens. Like he works his balls off. Make your shots from the corner when you get them. Occasionally cut back door and make sure that defenses have to be at least like honest on you whenever they're paying attention to you. Just do your job and move the ball. Like he's keeping it so simple. And because he's keeping it as simple as he has like very much earned a rotation spot for them to this point in the year. Like he has played in 7 of their 9 games. And like, frankly, I would bet that he continues to play like a real number of games for them because I don't know, like has he been better than Pods? Like it's close to me. But Pods has been like just like a little bit more up and down, maybe I would say. But like Pods is also playing like a bunch more minutes and is fine when I watch him play. But like Will Richard gives them like real defense, gives them real shooting, and like cuts back door and gives them like a bit of physicality in a way that like Pods has been okay. Like I'm not sitting here, complaining about Pods. It's more that I think Will Richard's just been really good at the role that he's been asked to play.
Yeah, and I mean, some guys are going to miss time with this team because of their age. So I think just naturally he's going to get an opportunity. So, I could see him playing how many ever games and ending up at 15. I mean, he's our 6th leading scorer right now, Sam. So,
yes. Very good. Like, he's been really good. I've really enjoyed the Will Richard experience to this point. Like, so keep it so simple and just earn your minutes by doing the non-negotiables in those like smaller roles, right? Like Nick Clifford has shown some things here and there for the Kings. I mean, like Suraf doesn't look really all that ready to play. I'm literally just kind of going through to see like the minutes leaders that we didn't talk about. Javon Small just, is a two-way point guard who's being asked to play a lot right now. Tyrese Proctor, I will say, I think that the process has been good, even if the shots have not fallen. Like, he's shooting 13% from 3. And I think you and I think that he's definitely a better shooter than that. I think the process has been pretty okay for him so far. And then like Brooks Barnhizer has been incredibly fun. The two like guys that haven't played enough yet, but give like crazy energy and like strength and power are Barnhizer and Noah Penda. I've enjoyed both of them like in the limited minutes that they've played, but like obviously just real offensive limitations for both of those guys right now.
Yeah. Real offensive limitations. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Bryce, do you have anything else? Do you have anyone else that you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered anybody I would have had strong thoughts on.
Yeah. I think that like, look, we kind of wanted to like limit it to guys that have played something of a real sample. Like all of the guys that we talked about, like pretty in depth, have at least played 125 minutes to this point, which felt, it's still an incredibly small sample, but it's enough to talk about in a real way, right? Like even Will Richard so far, who we've really enjoyed, he's still only played like 117 minutes, which isn't that many fewer than Collin Murray-Boyles, but like, Tyrese Proctor's played 73. Noah Penda's played 45. Will Richards played 51. Like that's the reason we're not like, or Will Riley, I'm sorry. Like those are the reasons we're not talking about those guys like crazy in depth tonight.
Yeah. Some of those guys will get a chance eventually. And when that time comes and they get a sample of how many ever games, then that's whenever we can really talk about them.
That's right. We'll talk about them then. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah. At Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Motor City Hoops Substack, where again, if your favorite team plays the Pistons, go check it out. I'll have notes on them as well as some video breakdowns. I did a Cade Cunningham recently and Isaiah Stewart. I think NBA fans would enjoy the Isaiah Stewart. I encourage you guys to go watch that one on the Substack. Maybe an appreciation for how good he is defensively right now. Of course, the Game Theory Substack as well, where I'll be dropping a DeAndre Ayton breakdown because...
Why did you do that one? I'm curious.
No, just because everybody was like talking about him. Like I feel like social media was... I was going to do Luka. Sam, I went to bed planning on doing a Luka breakdown. And then I woke up and it seemed like everybody was talking about DeAndre. And I'm like, okay, I want to go break it down. I think that's what we provide. My vision of what we do is not just the NBA draft breakdowns, not just rookies, but hey, so-and-so had a great game, supposedly. Let's go break it down and see. And because I highlighted where I thought DeAndre created a ton of second chance opportunities in that game for the Lakers.
Yeah.
And where he also was really deficient on the defensive end at times. And there was a real lack of consistency. And so I think that's what we provide with the video. So that's why I chose DeAndre. So go check that out. The Pistons Pulse podcast. And of course, Game Theory with Sam Vecenie right here.
That'll go up tomorrow. The DeAndre Ayton one. Yeah, I'll put that up tomorrow. I think we'll do Debanza on Saturday. That's fine. So DeAndre tomorrow, because that's a little bit more timely for the people. Debanza on Saturday, the breakdown of his Villanova game. The Debanza one will definitely be free. Maybe the DeAndre one can be free too. Honestly, like we've given the subscribers who we all love and adore so much. Thank you for having subscribed so early to the show, into the Substack. Like we have given them 3 like breakdowns under the paywall this week. So like, I feel more okay about, doing those 2 for free, given the problems that people are having subscribing right now. So maybe we'll put the DeAndre one in front of the paywall as well. So that'll be really fun. Go hit the subscribe button over there. It'll be really, really enjoyable. Bryce is really good at breaking down, and his are honestly like more professional than mine are. I just like kind of go through full games. And,
Well,
like,
no, I think
Bryce's
that's what
concise in like 8 minutes. They're beautiful.
I think that's what, like, you get a little bit of everything, right? Like, I do these 8 to 12 minutes, like one game, just going to show you, whatever. And then you go, dig into the weed. And it's, so with you, it's like, you're almost just like talking with people, whatever. Mine is just like, boom, 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 get out. And so
yeah.
I think it's a nice mix of both ways of doing it. And I think you have a priority of what you want to break down that is different than my priority, which again, I think
it is true,
which works off of each other in a nice way. So
yeah, I love it. Okay. Go over to the Game Theory Substack, game3samv.substack.com. Those two will be free this weekend. Just because again, we're having problems right now charging, allowing people to give us their hard-earned money. So hopefully that problem will be fixed in the future. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. I had a draft preview this week. I had a mock draft this week. Next week, I will probably have rookie rankings and what will I have? Probably like a first week NBA draft breakdown, honestly, for Monday, because there's been enough to kind of write about. And because we'll get the North Carolina Kansas game on Sunday too, or on Friday. I'm sorry. That'll be really, really fun to talk about with Caleb Wilson. I'm really excited to watch Caleb Wilson.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that's like a real swing guy to me in this class. Like if he's really good, this class might like really cook with gas, I think, in a real way. So, yeah. Okay. That's all we got. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. Like since we have moved to doing these not live, I don't enjoy I prefer doing them live, to be honest with you guys. Like I think it's so fun to get the interaction. It's just the algorithm. Like, we're now averaging, I think, like between 25 and 30,000 people watching this on YouTube compared to, 7 to 9,000, I think is what it was. So it was just such a massive difference that I think we have to do it this way. But we appreciate all you guys immensely for coming and hanging out. The people who have found it recently through the algorithm in the way that you have. Thank you all so much for having found it. And hopefully you're going to stick around and hopefully you hit the subscribe button. And we're going to keep doing this a couple times a week. So the schedule now is, just to reiterate, Monday morning, we will have something like takeaways. It'll probably be takeaways this week as well, but definitely something like takeaways. Tuesday morning will be NBA draft. And then Friday morning is the normal Friday podcast. So that one's not really new. But thank you all for hanging out. Thank you all for coming and hitting the subscribe button. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.